everybody. Welcome back to Feedback Loop. I'm Jeremy,
I'm Joey. That's me.
and we talk about music on this podcast. We try to share music and discover music together.
Yeah. This whole podcast is first and foremost about discovery, and we need to get that out of the way because a lot of you guys out there have been thinking that this is a review, strictly a review.
A
But
lot of you out there, because we have so many listeners that are commenting, thinking that, man, these guys just like reviewing albums. I wish they would introduce something new.
yeah, but the thing is, even if just one person thought that, that would still be the vast majority of our
Oh
audience.
yeah, 100. That would be our entire audience, pretty much. But yeah, so this week we listened to the album Yeezus by Kanye West because Joey had not listened to it before, and in my opinion, it's a very divisive album and it's a very interesting album. Just among Kanye West albums, but like even in a greater context, there's a lot of like disagreement about the album, I think, or at least they're used to it when it came out. Now I think it's kind of got this cult following. And we've teased it before. We've talked about Yeezus a little bit. We've talked about Kanye a little bit in general in the past on some other albums and stuff. So I said, fuck it. We're going to fucking do it. This feels like a cold wintry album to me. So, we're gonna fucking do it.
Hell yeah.
That's why we're here. Album art for this album is very bland. Or minimal, I should say, not bland. It's not like it's a spicy, but like it's just like a clear case CD with like there's no like imagery on the CD itself, and it just has a red sticker on the right side of it. Like it's just like a bootleg kind of CD deal.
Yeah,
is what it looks like.
It looks like you bought it off just some dude at the corner, and they just like put it in a crystal case and wrapped some red tape around the front of it.
Yeah, good old crystal cases, man. That takes me back
to those PlayStation 1 days.
Yeah, I mean, back to the PC days for me, because I've been a PC guy. My dad used to bootleg a lot of games and stuff. But
shh, Jeremy, you could get him in trouble.
Yeah, well, so be it. Sorry, Dad, if you're in jail now. We're gonna get fucking
let's get it. Yeah.
I'm excited. I'm anxious. I'm ready to talk about this album, and I hope you are too. Track number 1, On Site. What do you think of it, Joey?
Okay. I guess I'll start with my first impression of it.
Yeah, please.
So I went into this expecting it to be completely unlike anything I'd ever heard from like Kanye before.
Yeah.
Because that's kind of the aura that has been put around this album.
Yeah.
And it was definitely very different. And so I expected the difference. I looked it up, and the song was produced by Daft Punk.
So yeah, with Daft Punk. He used a handful of producers. Daft Punk, I think, produced a handful of tracks on the album with him, and it was kind of like a big collaboration. So it wasn't like solely Daft Punk producing it, but yeah.
Yeah, but so it instantly, before I even knew that it was with Daft Punk, of course it was gonna click with me. Like, you knew it fucking would. Like,
yeah. I mean, so I guess to give context on that, why I thought that previously is because there's a lot of sampling that goes on. Mm-hmm. Kanye is a fan of doing a lot of sampling and a lot of vocal sampling specifically, and he has in a lot of his other music, and I know you've listened to a lot of his other music.
Yeah.
And I know that kind of resonates with you. We've talked about on the podcast that you like finding the original songs that are sampled in a lot of stuff. And so it just makes sense. And then the additional layer that Daft Punk had a hand in producing this album, like to both of us, is kind of a big deal.
Yeah.
So it made sense that you would like this, but yeah.
No, so I guess more specifically, rather than just being like, I like it. It's got something.
Right.
But so like just the glitchy electronic, like, I don't know, it's just disorienting, I guess, harsh,
yeah.
super crunchy at the beginning, and it's just like, I don't know. I don't know if I just said this or not, but it even though I was looking for something different, this is not what I was expecting.
Right.
And it was, but in such a good way, because it instantly captured me. Like, it's not necessarily the melody, but it was like interesting. Like,
yeah.
I listened to it and I was like, okay, good. This is going to be interesting. Like
Right.
I'm gonna have fun looking into the music. Maybe like once I started hearing some sampling, I was like, oh, ooh, I'm gonna get these nice little snippets of songs that I can listen to, which I did, by the way, and I will definitely get to those in some later tracks because there's one dude in particular that came
Yeah.
up on another song that I was like, oh my god. But yeah, so and then it kind of keeps the same general, I guess, melody beat throughout most of the song with
Hmm.
occasional glitchiness where it's like it just shakes it up a little bit but not too much. And then
Right.
at the end, like near as the song ends, it kind of just melts. I don't like it just devolves or something and it just gets even harder and harder and harder and
Yeah. It gets
really
messier and grainier.
yeah, and really the only you just get one little break in the middle. Like in the middle of the song, it's just like switches to like a
Yeah.
chorus, like a almost like a gospel chorus, I think it is.
Yeah,
And
so he like in the song he's rapping like how much do I not give a fuck? Let me show you right now. And it just switches, like I said, to this
yeah.
completely this gospel thing. I actually looked into it a little bit. Uh, that it originally he was trying to get the permissions to use the sample that is in the song, and it was coming close to the deadline, and he didn't know if he was going to have permission to actually use it.
Hmm.
So he got in another choir to actually record the song themselves, or record the section of the song themselves, just as like a backup. But then he ended up working with that instead of using the original sample. So it's
Yeah.
not technically a sample, but it's like a cover of a sample that he
Yeah.
wanted to use, kind of a thing.
Well, it's fucking
But
sick.
yeah, it's just like insane going from this weird, like very crunchy industrial electronic thing to just like he's like, let me show you right now, like this is how little the fuck I care. And in the middle of the song, he just drops this gospel choir kind of chorus thing that just completely changes the song, and then it goes right back into that gritty, crunchy electronic sound.
Yeah. And the amount of self-awareness to make this the first song on the album, I think
Yeah,
is great.
so that's another thing. So like the whole track, even lyrically, is like a big like I'm back and not giving a fuck about your expectations
Yeah.
kind of a deal, and it's pretty exaggerated. The song, like I mean, it's rap. A lot of rap music
Yeah.
is pretty exaggerated and
And it's
boisterous and
Kanye.
stuff, and
So,
it's Kanye, and the song's about fucking, whatever. But
yeah.
like, I think he was very very self aware of it, and at some points in the song, you can hear him laughing after he delivers some lines,
Yeah.
and he intentionally put this song first on the album to throw people off because he has a history, a formula, I guess, that he normally sticks to with albums where he introduces things in a much more softer way, and it kind of like gets you hooked on this kind of groove first, and then he'll drop in the heavier, the weirder stuff later. But with this album, he's just like, nah, fuck it. Like, I don't care what you're expecting of me. This is going here at the beginning. And I think that's why this album is so divisive,
Hmm.
is because it just right out of the gate it hits you with the grittiest, the crunchiest, the most off kilter sounding stuff that you would expect from Kanye West. Like it's not what you would expect at all, and I think that just immediately put a bad taste in people's life. I'm one of them. Like when I listened to this album when it came out in 2013, I did not like it at all.
Oh shit.
I was just like, man, this is like just random nonsense. There's a lot of screaming on this album,
Yeah.
and there's a lot of just like clutter and scattered stuff, and I hated it. And I think a lot of people did for the same reason. But given time to reflect on it, obviously, if I'm recommending this album, like it's come around a whole lot for me.
Yeah. Yeah, it's I don't know. I didn't I will there were parts on the album that come my second time I liked them more, but
Right.
like right off the bat, this was like in my wheelhouse of stuff where I was just like, "Oh shit, I'm going to enjoy like cuz there's plenty of things that I listen to and I'm like, "Okay, yeah, that sounds pleasant. That sounds nice. It's cool, I guess." But
Yeah.
this was like I was listening to it and it was almost hard to write my notes because I
Yeah.
wanted to focus on what was happening.
And it's
Uh,
so hard to focus because it's like a chaotic, energetic mess of a song.
yeah.
That there's
Yeah,
like
for real.
it's hard, especially if you're listening to the song while trying to write about it. There's just like there's so much going on, but it's also minimal at the same time in a lot of
Yeah.
ways. Like I don't know, there's some weird like dissonance happening.
Yeah, and another thing I wanted to point out is, so where he was talking about showing you how little fucks he gives and switching to the chorus,
Hmm.
the words that sample says is, "Oh, he'll give us what we need. It may not be what we want." And I like the amount of self awareness that he has. I feel like this has to be intentional. Where it's like
Yeah. Oh, for
he
sure.
he like started it off with this intense song that apparently caused this giant divide in his fan base, and
Yeah.
he was just like, yeah, this is what you need to change. Because I don't know, the earliest Kanye that I really like listened to and paid attention to, I guess, would be My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy.
Oh, so you haven't heard like I wouldn't even consider that old Kanye.
Well, I haven't. I mean, like, I've heard his big songs from before then, but I haven't like
Okay.
listened to. I haven't
Like late
really.
registration or the college dropout and stuff like
Yeah,
that.
I haven't like really paid attention to a
Right.
lot of his music from back then, and I don't know. It seems like this album was such like a pivotal moment in his
Yeah.
like career, and for him to be like, "This is what you need. It may not be what you want, but this is what you need,"
Right.
and it set him up to. He's so much bigger than he ever was,
Yeah. He
and
kind of like reinvents himself with this album
yeah,
in a very large way. Like again, we've mentioned My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy was the album prior to this one, and it's my favorite Kanye album. And going from that album, which has like a lot of soul and a lot of groove to it, to this, where it's just like this chaotic nonsense, it just rubbed me the wrong way. And I think he was right. It's not what I
yeah.
wanted, but it is what I needed, and I can appreciate that now.
Well, good, very good. I
I don't know
I
how we're going to segue a lot of these tracks.
I think I think I think we just shouldn't try at this point because
Yeah,
I don't know how we're gonna do
definitely
it.
not for this song.
Yeah, because there's no way that I could feel okay trying to just come up with a story. But the next song is Black Skinhead, and I have heard this song before. This is
Yeah,
one of the
this
two
was a
songs
pretty
that I've
big
heard.
single. This
But
was used. I think it was used in a lot of commercials or movie trailers. It's just got a good beat to it,
yeah,
and it's very like widespread use because of the feel of the song. I really like this track, by the way,
I do
production
as
wise.
well. And it's all of the songs that kind of stay in this theme tend to be my favorites.
Yeah,
Not not I'm not gonna skip ahead to the lyrical content. We'll still talk about the music first because the music on this track is awesome. But
yeah,
yeah, all the songs that have lyrical content that like go with this song are my favorites on the album. But yeah,
yeah,
like you said, it's super like just intense drums, like super pounding, almost like tribal drums because there's like chanting in the background or like
yeah. There's a lot of like howling and chanting and like panting and
yeah,
like there's so many samples.
yeah, and it's just it's nuts. I feel like I'm scared and alone in the middle of
Yeah,
like the wilderness or something, and there's like people all around me, and
yeah,
it's just like they're after me or something. Like I don't.
yeah. There's a lot of like just like crazy and fun vocal stuff that he does on this album and in the song specifically, where he screams
Yeah,
and he's just like letting all this shit out that's not like a you'd never hear it in hip hop music, but b it's just like it's so like it's non-musical in such a way, but he uses it to make music, and I don't know, it's I don't want to say it's genius because Kanye doesn't need a bigger ego.
yeah,
I mean, he's not listening to this shit anyway. But
yeah,
like, it's incredible what he does with the individual pieces. It's like the sum of the pieces is greater than or I guess the whole is greater than the sum of its pieces or whatever that fucking
yeah,
saying is. There's so many little samples in here that he uses in such a specific way to have such a great impact in the end.
yeah. It's I'm gonna try to not say genius as well on the off chance that somehow because I mean given his
I mean, it
situation,
is. I
yeah,
fuck it.
yeah,
It is creative genius.
yeah. There we go. We'll add the caveat of creative and but yeah, so it's got the like huge drums. They're just pounding throughout the whole song. It's I mean, and he even like at the end in the verse. So he has each I guess line or whatever at the end it just says black and like a super
Yeah,
detuned voice which is completely relevant to the song. but it's just cool that he can use that as part, because it feels very melodic. Like, to me, it fits in with the music better than it fits in with the vocals. Like, it's part of the beat. And
Right.
uh it really only changes up in a way, like you had mentioned, kind of minimalism, or it's stripped down. I feel like a lot of the song structures are stripped down, but
Hmm.
the actual content is pretty good, because I mean, this song, it stays with this kind of pounding drums throughout most of it, and then it'll just drop out at the beginning of the chorus with this huge 808 that just feels
Yeah.
great whenever you're listening to it in headphones very loudly. It's just like, it shakes my head.
Yeah. It feels good. Lyrically, it's got this kind of like racially charged lyric thing to it, but it's also kind of coupled with typical rapper like I'm back and I'm the best kind of a deal. Which I
Yeah,
mean, this is an album called Yeezus, which is
yeah,
obviously a play on Jesus and Kanye's nickname of Ye. So like he's clearly feeling himself on this album.
yeah,
So it's kind of that exaggerated rapper, like I'm the best kind of a thing. But in true Kanye fashion, also talks about some like more racial themes. Like the first verse, like I think
hmm,
it's the second half, or I guess it's probably towards the beginning. Um, he says, "Enter the kingdom, but watch who you bring home. They see a black man with a white woman at the top floor. They're gonna come to kill King Kong." Which obviously is saying like interracial dating still isn't super acceptable to a
yeah,
lot of people, and it's going to get you some looks. And then he continues and he says, "Middle America packed in, came to see me in my black skin." So he's talking about going on tour in like very white areas of the country, and
yeah,
everyone's still lining up and showing. And they're just like, he's kind of painting it in this way that they're viewing him as like a freak show kind of a deal, or that
yeah,
he's like an attraction because he's black, not necessarily because of his skin. But then he ends that verse talking. He says, "If I don't get ran out by the Catholics, here come some conservative Baptists claiming I'm overreacting, like the black kids in Chirac, bitch." Which it's fun to rhyme. Like it
yeah,
feels good the way he flows it. But he's like pretty much just saying that like everyone is against him, and if it's not one group, it's another, and they're gonna like try to belittle what I'm saying or what I'm doing,
yeah,
saying that it's not important when it actually is, just because I'm black, kind of a thing.
yeah. I This song definitely starts off a chain of songs to come later on the album that kind of build on one another, and yeah, just the massive hypocrisy of the people who will, because like you said, like, interracial dating it'll definitely get you some look. It'll get you a lot more in some parts
Yeah,
of the country, which is
especially in
just
the Midwest.
absolutely fucking insane. And then, yeah, like you said, to go line up to see him like he's just some sort of like dance. Like, hey, we're gonna pay you. Just go up on the stage and do what we want. And if you say anything about how we're acting about it, yeah, we're gonna run you out of town. And
Yeah,
the last line of claiming I'm overreacting, like them black kids in Chirac, bitch, is nuts. Because so I don't listen to a whole lot of like rap, I guess, but
yeah,
I have never heard the use of the word Chirac in reference to Chicago as having like worse death rates or murder rates than Iraq.
right.
So just that reading, like hearing that, reading that, I was just like, oh shit, that's intense. But
Yeah,
to
and
have all the
furthermore, I think the point he's making there is that like because there's so much violence in Chicago and
mhm,
in those neighborhoods and stuff, like you said, that surmounts casualties in Iraq, but like nobody gives a fuck. Nobody's saying anything. People that try to speak out to that are just like, oh no, you're overreacting. It's not as bad as it is overseas or whatever. When it
yeah,
is,
yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, yeah. He just starts something that I'm trying not to get ahead of myself, but
okay. Well, we'll keep on moving to the next track.
I am a god.
I Am a God, track number 3, featuring God is listed
Yeah,
on Genius for some reason.
it
I don't
is.
know if it is on the actual like track listing anywhere, but yeah, he's a god. This song brings back the big distorted synth sounds from the first track. This
Hmm.
one's much more like haunting and ominous and dark feeling. there are no drums in this track, or if there are, they're very sparsely like sprinkled through.
Yeah.
They have a vocal sample of a Rasta type guy named Capleton. I don't know how to pronounce the dude's name.
I was
But
pronouncing it Capleton, but that's probably wrong.
Capleton. Yeah. So that guy comes in and he raps, but it's kind of like taking a backseat to the production. It's kind of like washed out a bit in the background at the beginning. There's not a lot of musical melody in this track, and maybe that's why it feels a bit more spacey and dark and ominous. There's some building synths in like the later choruses leading up to him screaming at the end, which this we mentioned in one of the prior albums that you brought up.
Yeah. Against All Odds, the
Yeah,
2012 through 2017.
Yeah, Against All Logic.
Or yeah, why? Why do I always do that?
It's fun. But yeah, so this song is sampled because Kanye just like screams, and it's kind of an iconic thing, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, the song breaks down. It's just Kanye screaming with this weird like water drop effect that comes in, and it's like a high pitched scream, and then the synths come back in, and the bass comes back in, but the screams don't stop. He's just screaming for like a good like half of the song. Well, not half the song, but like a quarter of the song. It's just him screaming as loud as he can in this like high pitched kind of shrill thing. And then at the end of the song before the outro, there's this like an actual synth melody, which I thought was kind of a strange, but nice inclusion at the end.
Yeah, this song, it definitely gets kind of housey in the way that you were talking about. Like, it has a spacey feel. And, man, so talking about self-awareness, this song, so it's called I Am a God on an album called Yeezus. And he's literally just talking about, like, fuck you, I'm extremely famous, I'm extremely rich, and nobody can tell me what to do. Like, his first verse is, or his first, I guess it's the chorus, I don't know. Hurry up with my damn massage, hurry up with my damn menage, get the Porsche out the damn garage, I am a god. Like, he's literally just like, yeah, I'm rich and famous, I can do whatever the fuck I want. And it's in response to him being invited to like a fashion show in Paris, and he was going to one of them, but I guess they told him, okay, if you come to this one, you can't go to any of the other ones. And he was just like, no, fuck you, you can't tell me what I'm doing. So he just went and recorded this song and was like, fuck everybody, I'm gonna do whatever I want. But the hyperventilating shrill, like, it sounds like a manic episode in this like these shrieks that he has, and that makes me wonder, like, him putting that in here, if he, because he had what I would imagine is the self-awareness to put on site at the beginning of the album. I'm thinking that is also self-awareness to, like, I know this is absolutely insane what I'm saying right now, and like, this is like he's portraying it as part of like a manic episode or something.
Yeah, I think he's like, like you said, I mean, a lot of this album is super self-aware on a level that people on the surface wouldn't notice.
Yeah.
That like, again, even on this song, I Am a God, there's that surface level of him talking himself up, saying that he's a god and he's feeling himself. But there's actually maybe some deeper threads there where I did a little bit of research on this one. In some versions of the Bible, in Psalms chapter 82, verse 6, it reads, I have said, ye are gods, and all of you are the children of the Most High. Ye obviously being one of Kanye's nicknames, so he's kind of playing with that. But in addition, Kanye's middle name is Omari, which means God the Highest in Swahili. So while this song is definitely about Kanye bragging on himself, there's also this layer of him acknowledging that he's not above the God. He is a God, but he mentions that he's not better than God. He doesn't put himself on that level. He says he's a close high.
Yeah, I know he's the Most High, but I am a close high.
Yeah. So while on the surface, again, on an album called Yeezus with a song called I Am a God, someone sees that and they're like, oh, that's blasphemy. That's like this guy thinking that he's the best of the best kind of thing. And he does. He thinks he is very, very high up there, but he's not God. And and I think that's a theme that he's had in a lot of his music in the past. I mean, we've mentioned his gospel sampling at some points in the past. Maybe not on the podcast, but maybe just between us. But he samples a lot of religious music, and one of his newer albums is Jesus is King, right? So like, which is all like gospel and praise music kind of stuff. So like he's always had that kind of it's so strange to call it humbleness
Yeah,
because that's the last thing you think of when you think of Kanye West is
yeah,
humble. But he kind of he seems to know where he's at, or at least knows that he's not
yeah,
the best of the best, kind of a deal.
yeah. Even in his wildest of dreams, he knows there is somebody above him, to
Right.
at least to himself.
Yeah. So maybe he's just the second, but
Yeah,
which a lot of people would argue is still saying too much.
yeah,
But at least he has some awareness there,
yeah.
where he's not just outright saying no, like I'm better than Jesus, kind of a thing.
And I mean, like, I don't know. I couldn't imagine living the fucking life that he has lived and
Yeah.
keeping any sort of sanity. So, like,
Yeah, and I think that's partially like this album is him just letting it out
yeah,
and fucking like this is kind of like we said a turning point in his career, and I think it's a turning point for him personally where he maybe just kind of snapped and was like, you
definitely.
know what, fuck it, I'm just gonna like get in the studio and I'm just gonna scream and I'm gonna be able to sell it because that's what I do,
Yeah,
kind of
because
thing.
I'm Kanye.
Because I'm Kanye and I'm a god.
Yeah.
We spent too much time talking on all these tracks. We're
Oh,
gonna keep
okay.
moving forward.
Okay.
Track 4, New Slaves. This is one of my favorite tracks on the album.
Hey, me too.
I really, really like the production on this track.
Yeah.
It's got this ominous synth melody with some like spiraling vocal samples. When Kanye starts rapping, it's super minimal musically, with some of the more production layering in until the chorus comes in with this full like orchestra type section
Hmm.
and some crazy samples and effects. And then before the outro section, there's some pretty unintelligible vocal samples that he plays with leading into this like drum roll sample that climaxes in a song that I will not be pronouncing the title of, but it's by a Hungarian rock band called Omega.
Yeah.
And he raps some lines with some like very heavy filtering to kind of match the lo-fi style of the sample.
Hmm.
And just like the blending of his vocals and the original vocals on the track and Frank Ocean's vocals on the track are just like chef's kiss. I literally put in my notes, I know Joey will like this track.
Well, I'm glad because, yeah, this is. You know what? I'm gonna say it's probably tied for my favorite track, or I don't know. But yeah, this is. I love this song.
I know what the other track is that it's tied
Okay.
for, I'm assuming. I
Okay.
guess I can't say I know, but I'm gonna guess. We'll play the guessing game.
Okay. Okay.
So
But
buckle up.
so this song, just like not only musically but lyrically, but yeah, the music is fucking amazing on this song because I love Frank Ocean. He's got a great voice. He's just got
Yeah.
a very nice voice.
I need to listen to more of his music. I don't think I've listened to any of his albums.
Yeah, he's pretty good. You know, I'll put that on record saying that he's pretty good. And
We'll do a Frank Ocean episode, maybe.
yeah, but so yeah, like you said, I mean, they keep kind of everything kind of low while he's actually like rapping his. I guess what like the first verse, two, is it two verses or is it one verse?
I don't know. I don't
I
have the
think it's
lyrics
two.
up.
Yeah, two verses. Uh, but yeah, so you can actually like hear what he's saying and understand what he's saying, and then it gets big. And I just love the way I love the progression of this song, and
Yeah.
I'm just gonna bust right into these
Do it. Fucking
these
do it.
lyrics just because we spent forever on the other songs. But so the song's called "New Slaves." Did we say that? I'm thinking we said that, but
Yeah, we did. I
okay,
hope. If
yeah.
not, it's called New Slaves.
Yeah, there we go. So the first verse is all about uh, racism and poor racism versus rich racism, and
Right.
comparing the fact that it's a lot of people seem to be under this idea that like, oh, look, racism's gone. I mean, look, there's all these black people that are rich now, and
Yeah.
that's great, right? They couldn't have done that 70 years ago or 50 years, whatever. Like,
Right.
that's unheard of. But he personifies it as you see broke racism that's don't touch anything in the store, and then rich
Right.
racism, which is come in, please buy more. What do you want? A Bentley, a fur coat, a diamond chain? All you blacks want the same, like want the same things. And
Right.
it's extremely true when you think about what was it? Oh my God, Cristal, the champagne
Yeah.
company,
Yeah.
who they were like the guy was like pissed because all these like black rappers were buying it, and he said it was sullying the nice name of a champagne or some bullshit. And it's like, dude,
Yeah.
like there's still people that are like, you can make it. You can actually climb your way up there and make it, and then you're spending your money on like the wrong things, or like you're supposed to be buying these things, but you're supposed to be spending all your money and giving it to these other people
Right. To
because
these
they
wealthy white businessmen.
exactly like I forget what I think it was a comedian, but they were like talking about rich versus wealthy, and it was like rich is like what I don't know. It's like basketball players. It's like musicians. It's like people that can lose all their money in a lifetime, and then wealth is like untouchable. And it's like
Right.
it really is like the rich are being scammed out of their money, or I don't know, coerced into spending all their money to give it to the wealthy. And it
Yeah.
is, I mean, it's the new slavery, but in reality, the new slavery is what he gets into in the second verse, which is
Mm-hmm.
the fucking prison system, dude. Like
I got I'm
Jesus,
on my prison.
it's, it's, and I don't know,
That's
because
a
this,
whole discussion I think that we could have.
yeah, I'm not gonna get into it, but this is the second he gets into it. Listen to the song, just listen to the song and just read the lyrics as you're listening to it, and you will understand. But
Yeah.
then, yeah, he just is talking about how the prison system is being used as a new form of slavery, and he's right. So
Yeah, he mentions at one point he says, "Meanwhile, the DEA teamed up with the CCA. They're
yeah,
trying to lock us up. They're trying to make new slaves." And it's kind of referencing the fact that I saw. I don't know if this is accurate. I should have fact checked this, but the Genius comments seem to apply. I think there was actually a Genius.
it was
Uh,
the one for the teamed up with the CCA is verified by the ACLU, so I'm guessing they would have an accurate statistic.
Yeah. But it seemed like they were saying that there are more African Americans that have been imprisoned today, that are in prisons today, in correctional facilities today, than there were slaves during the Civil War,
Yeah,
which is fucking insane. Because, like, again, as a society, we being the mid upper class white whatever assholes, uh, have this perspective of like, oh, racism doesn't exist anymore. There aren't slaves anymore. That's all been done. But at the same time, we're just hiding them. We're putting them in boxes and cages and saying that no, it's out of sight. They're criminals now. They're not
yeah.
slaves. They're criminals. They deserve to be put away, kind of a thing, which is absolute bullshit.
Oh man, and just the the okay. I was about to get into a whole
But yeah, let's take a
yeah.
sip of our liquor. Let's calm
Yeah.
down.
See if I can
We'll
hold
move
my liquor.
on. Yeah, see how well you hold your liquor when we talk about track number 5, which is called "Hold My Liquor."
Boom, a segue.
A segue, unlike all of our episodes where we
Yeah,
try so hard. This time we're just kind of we're whatever. Track 5, "Hold My Liquor." This one is also one of my favorite tracks. I don't think this is your next big one, but I guess I say this is one of my favorite tracks. I like a lot of tracks on this
yeah.
album.
This track is
Um,
amazing, by the way. But you're
yeah,
right. It's not my other favorite.
cool. This one's got like some soft, quiet synths. It's got some spacey effects under the intro vocals that are provided by Justin Vernon. It's got some inhaling and exhaling samples under the autotune chorus by Chief Keef, which I'll go into when we talk about the lyrical content. Kanye comes in and there's this horrible like screeching sample. I
Yeah,
say horrible, but it's not bad. It works in the song,
yeah,
but isolated, it would be just this horrible screeching sound. And then there's some low like building driving synths under Kanye's verse, and it's just this incredible soundscape that he's crafted for the song.
yeah. It's. I mean, Justin Vernon, like that dude. He shows up on a few
Yep,
songs. Dude, that guy's voice is
it's pretty good.
very nice. Like I very much enjoy it.
Yeah, I
But
don't know who Justin Vernon is, but
yeah, me either. Like
I
I'd
need to look into it.
never heard of him before this. But yeah. So it it's got like these low synths, I guess, to
Mhm.
start out with, and it seems very like somber, I guess, like
Yeah,
somber in but like in a peaceful way or something. But yeah, I just like the way that Justin's echoey voice comes in, and then it's like Chief Keef's like hard auto tuney
yeah.
singing voice comes in on top of that as the beat builds up, and then it cuts out whenever Kanye comes in, and then it yep, and then it just hits back in. Oh, it's just It's really
It's
nice.
masterful. And
It
then
is.
in addition to that, like in the chorus and at the outro, there's the guitar that comes in,
Hmm.
and it has the tone of it just reminds me of Rat-a-Tat.
Yeah.
Because it's very much a similar like sounding tone in the guitar, but it's just like, oh, it feels so good. There's like a whole like solo section kind of a deal
Yeah.
with the guitar, and it just feels good. There's also at the very end of the song, there's some weird sound effects that remind me of like blood pumping through a heart, like if you're listening through like a stethoscope or something, where it's just like
Yeah.
this weird like sucking and kind of pulsing sound to it. So I'm not 100% sure what the intention of that is, but overall, just the whole like soundscape of this song is it makes it a very perfect night driving song in my opinion.
For
And
sure.
this is an album that I'll put on. I go to a lot of concerts. Well, not this year, but normally I go to a lot of concerts throughout a year, and they're 2, 3, 5 hour drives. And this is one of the albums that I'll put on when I'm driving back home after a concert, just because, not solely because of this song, but in part because of the song. A lot of the songs on this album just have this very, very good like night driving feel to them.
Yeah, and they do. And I didn't get the chance to do that. I wanted to this week, but I just didn't get the time. But
Yeah,
it is definitely something that will be happening the next time I go on a drive.
hell yeah,
But yeah, lyric wise, this song is, to me, it was about the fight between your inner demons, but he does it in a way that it's like, I don't know, the mix between thinking you can handle your demons and then not caring if you can't.
right.
It's not like a good versus bad. It's like I'm okay with
Do
the
I
bad.
want to? Yeah.
Yeah. Do I want to versus do I care sort of thing.
Yeah, it's super interesting, and like we said, it has Justin Vernon, who's kind of being the responsible side of Kanye's mind,
Hmm.
and then it goes to Chief Keef, who is being the irresponsible side of
Yeah.
Kanye's mind, and then Kanye comes in, and he's the first thing he says when he comes back is, "Bitch, I'm back out my coma." So like it's kind of painting this like internal struggle, like you said, where it starts with Justin Vernon being reasonable, and then it kind of ends with Chief Keef being unreasonable, and then he snaps out of it and he's back in real life, and he's just kind of like trying to piece together everything that happened in the previous night, while also kind of spending some time reflecting on his past relationships.
Yeah. And I don't know, just the way that I don't want to lump this in, but I mean, I think this whole album, if you take a step back, looks at mental illness, or more specifically Kanye's mental state. Like you
Yeah,
said, it
for
seems
sure.
like he's having like some sort of break whenever
Right.
he's making this album, and this is definitely a track that shows that very intensely.
Yeah. Speaking of intense tracks, track
Oh,
number
oh
6,
shit.
I'm in it. Just like immediately comes in with this big blompy synth.
Yeah.
Got the blomp in there again because I like saying that word blomp.
Oh,
But it's got some like samples of some very sensual, sexual sounds, which is it's kind of strange, but again, it kind of suits it. Like
yeah.
the way he weaves everything together makes everything fit. When Kanye comes in, he's got that layered low vocals under his normal pitched vocals, which I know
Yeah.
you're a fan of.
Oh yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
it just overall, it's a very dark sounding song, and then there's this kind of building snare that comes into this pre-chorus bridge section kind of thing that has some air horns and this like siren like synth, and it's got another Rasta guy, a Jamaican rapper kind of guy, which goes by the alias of Assassin, and he kind of like he raps a little bit to build up this to this drop, and there's just silence for a second, and it's kind of like his voice is echoing out, and there's just this suspense there, and then bam, it fucking hits you with this drop of this like thick 808 and the synth, and it's just like he fucking goes hard. Assassin goes hard. He has like a whole verse here,
Oh yeah.
and there's like a dog barking in the background for God knows why, but it works. And it's just like, I don't know, the energy, this like building energy, and then suspense, and then release of that energy is just fantastic. I love the build up and the progression of the song.
Yeah. This I don't I am always going to be biased towards like Jamaican rap,
Me
reggae,
too.
like dub type stuff. So like as soon as, and I'm glad that there's so much of that on this album. Like that is
Yeah.
definitely a thing. But like this song particularly, like yeah, like you said, the energy of this song is just like through the fucking roof. It is. I don't know, like, I almost couldn't imagine driving to this song simply because I'd be like swerving, I'd be going like 80 miles an hour, 90
Yeah.
miles an hour, whatever, and just going nuts. But yeah, it's fucking awesome, and it makes me want to just like jump around, even though I look like a fucking idiot doing it.
Oh, who gives a shit? No one's watching while you're listening to this album, maybe. But
Maybe.
yeah, then like after that kind of explosion, the chorus comes in and it's Kanye and Justin Vernon again, and it kind of continues the dark energy of Assassin's verse, and then the third verse comes in and it resets that energy. It kind of like tones it back down. And at some point, I thought it was kind of fun and funny, showing Kanye's kind of humor in it. There's a point where he's pretending to be a girl that's climaxing.
Yeah.
I don't remember what the line is leading up to it, but there's this modulated, pitched like vocal sample of Kanye screaming like a girl having an orgasm that was just kind of like out of left field and funny. And then Justin Vernon does like a whole bridge section, and it's just ethereal. It's he
Yeah.
has, like you said, he has a very cool voice, and that along with the production of this album is just like it's another level kind of a thing.
Yeah, and like lyric wise, this song, I mean, you could kind of imply this from just the music alone, but it's very much about sex, it's very much about fantasies, it's very much about like just, I don't know, whenever Assassin goes off, it seems like he's talking about like killing people.
Yeah,
But that's not really what like Kanye is talking about. So I don't know if that's just like another fantasy, because it
right.
seems like he's talking about try that upon February the 30th, which, I mean, February the 30th isn't a day that.
That's my birthday, Joey.
Oh shit! Well, you must be 0 years old because. But like, the song is very much about like intense fantasies,
Yeah,
and then at the end, Kanye brings it around where you think the song is just like, oh yeah, it's just a good, it's a sex song, he likes whatever, like,
he likes fucking.
yeah, but I don't know. He comes in with the last, like the outro,
Yep.
and he's talking about having a kids and wife, but he can't wake up from the nightlife. He's so scared of his demons, he's got to sleep with the nightlight. Like, it's just, it just brings it back to where it really is. He's like talking about these uncontrollable things that just like plague him, where it brings kind of another side to the braggadocious side of a lot of his rap, where it's like, I think he really is on the edge, and so
Yeah,
he doesn't really like it there all the, like, definitely not all the time, but it's I don't know, it's just nice to see. Not It's not nice to see, it's actually really sad, but to see that human side, I guess,
yeah,
represented.
for sure. And like I don't know, the song specifically, it seems to be a turning point in the album, at least like thematically,
Hmm.
where like you said, it seems like the song's just about him having these sexual fantasies and whatever and getting fucking, and then it gets to the end and it kind of comes to the conclusion, or at least I came to the conclusion, partly because in Justin Vernon's bridge he says "starfucker" and he repeats that a while. So it seems to me that in that last verse or the outro section, kind of a deal, it seems that Kanye is kind of coming to this conclusion that he's being used for his fame and money. So while he was like talking about fucking this chick and being just being in it, being in that moment, he's kind of like snapping out of it and saying like, wait a minute, she doesn't give a shit about me. She's just trying to like get as much money out of me, which is a theme that comes up in later tracks on the album.
Yeah.
But it seems like this whole outro is him snapping and ramping up to something, or ramping up to start something new, and it alludes to him maybe getting over his ex or finally like putting that chapter behind him so that he can move on, kind of a thing.
Yeah. uh I don't know how to
Don't.
transition. Okay. The next song was Blood on the Leaves,
Yep.
and
Which, fun fact, was the song that Kanye said he would have put at the top of the album if he wanted to kind of entice people in with the same formula kind of thing that he had. That was the song that he was going to put at the beginning, but then it's like, no, fuck it, like fuck him, we're doing on site and just catching him completely off guard.
I'm really glad he didn't, because I like the placement of this song,
Yeah.
and I'm gonna go ahead and say it. This was my other favorite.
Shit.
I
Okay.
know which one you're thinking was it,
Yeah.
and that's a very strong contender. But this one, the way it hit me, the first, and that's the crazy thing. the way it hit me the first time I heard this song was just like an intense
Yeah.
thing. Because, okay, so Nina Simone, it starts off with a Nina Simone sample.
Yep. He's
I mean,
used several of her songs as
yeah,
samples.
she's great, amazing. Listen to her.
Yeah.
But so it starts off with her singing Strange Fruit, which leads back to he made a reference to Blood on the Leaves
Yep.
in New Slaves. Strange Fruit is about lynching, is about African Americans in U.S. history being lynched, strange fruit hanging from the trees.
Right. Which are corpses.
Yeah, and it's just an extremely powerful song, and Nina Simone does a great rendition of it. It's a very
Yep.
powerful rendition of it. So he has a sample of that playing in the background for most of the song, and it's not even a sample in the normal way that like you take little snippets or you remix it or whatever. It is just her singing it behind him performing this song.
Right. It's kind of like a duet.
Yeah, and it, I don't know, just the way he in New Slaves he was talking about the old versus the new, the old racism versus the new racism, the old slaves versus the new slaves, and just the way that he brought the old with the new
Right.
on that. And Nina Simone herself did something kind of similar because I can't remember exactly which album it is, but she did a rendition of Little Girl Blue, which is a
Mm-hmm.
song about just deep sadness. And she sang it over her playing Good King Wenceslas on the piano. So it was like happiness, I guess, because that's like a Christmas song
Right.
mixed with like, but it took,
Sorrow.
yeah, mixed with sorrow, and it just took on a completely different meaning. And him doing that, playing her song over like underneath his song, just mixed old with new with me. I just drew a bunch of connections with it, and it was just a really intense moment the first time I heard it.
Yeah. I mean, the song itself, even Connections Outside, is pretty fucking intense.
Yeah.
Where there's like, it starts with a very soft intro section, and you hear Kanye auto-tuned rapping over her sample and a soft piano kind of thing. There's just a hint of some dark synths that get teased, and then they back out.
Mm-hmm.
And then boom, it comes in. You get these full like big brass band stabs over like a typical rap kick beat kind of a thing. And then the song kind of calms down. It kind of ebbs and flows a bit, but before the third verse, and then immediately goes right back. And he uses these big brass stabs a whole lot in the song, and it gives it this kind of big boisterous feel to it. And then again, the outro, it kind of recedes, and it's back to the kind of peaceful, calm pianos with Kanye singing auto-tuned over that Nina sample.
Yeah.
So it's just kind of like this nice ebb and flow of the peaceful calm with these big, loud brass instruments.
Yeah. Man. Just, I don't know. Like, I'm gonna go ahead and say it. I'm glad you made me listen to this album.
Fuck yeah.
Because yeah, so like it's like this album just kept getting better as it progressed almost.
Yeah.
And to me at least, like, because
Yeah, and it's an album that I feel, maybe this is me being a little pretentious, but I feel like every time I listen to this album, I pick up more things about it, or I enjoy different aspects of it more. So like, it's never a bad thing for me to revisit this album.
Yeah, and I mean, I think that's a sign of Kanye's like musical standards, I guess, because it
Yeah.
seems like he has a very particular way of putting together his music. Not necessarily like he has an exact form and method, because he
Right.
does some crazy out there shit, but it's like he knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
He
He's very good at producing
yeah,
music.
like he didn't get his big head just out of nowhere. He got it because people rightly gave him genius status for making really good
Yeah,
music.
for sure. Lyrically, Blood on the Leaves seems to be talking about how he had this good relationship with a girl until the news got out, which he kind of paints in this light of that was her choice to go public with it, kind of a thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then after the news got out that they were married or that they were together, she turned on him, divorced his ass, took his money, and started claiming that she was pregnant to either fuck with him or to get more money from him. And it seems like it might be related to the prior track, where I kind of drew that connection that like maybe that was the snapping point where he realized that he had to like move on because she was just using him for money, kind of a deal.
Yeah, it's definitely, I don't know. I like the way that he kind of, I don't know what the word is for it, but so Blood on the Leaves is obviously a reference to like strange fruit, which is how he
Right,
originally used it.
lynching.
But then blood on the leaves, as in his blood is being spilled on money because some woman is bleeding him dry.
Yeah,
I don't know. It's just he did a really good job of like making a throughway between like from old slavery to new slavery to sampling strange fruit to now talking about him, which, I mean, there's plenty of times where people get divorced and it's like, okay, now I just have to pay you money for a long time
right.
because why? Because like we got divorced and
Yeah,
you want me to pay you a bunch of money? Like, but yeah, I don't know. It's it's just good.
yeah. He does a very good like job of connecting and tying in a lot of things, and it's almost like world building in a sense, where
Yeah.
he's like crafting the album as a whole, kind of like maybe this is a bit too nerdy pulling into the podcast, but we play D&D, so it's kind of like building a world in D&D where there's a lot of these threads that are connecting to a bunch of unrelated stuff, or it seems unrelated and not innocuous enough at first, but then you start digging and you kind of see that the roots are a lot deeper, and
Yeah.
there's like this kind of mesh that's woven throughout the album.
And it's awesome.
It
It's
is.
really just awesome.
The next
Fuck.
track is Guilt Trip, track number 8.
Is this the one that you thought was going to be?
It's not. I
Oh shit.
honestly I thought it was the last track on the album would be your other favorite. It's
Oh
because the last track on the album is one of my favorite on this
yeah.
album,
It's a
but
very good
we'll get to
song.
that. We'll get
Yeah.
to that. But yeah, so Guilt Trip, track number 8. It's got these very spacey synths that remind me. They always remind me of "Fly Like an Eagle."
Yeah.
Cause just the kind of the crescendoing like trills of the synths and kind of like fading out and up and stuff, that like it always reminds me of "Fly Like an Eagle." Um, but yeah, it's got some like laser stabs, making it a very spacey sounding track.
Oh
Just the
yeah.
whole track feels spacey. It's got a sample of rapper Popcan, which is another like Jamaican rapper. They pitched him down for some like interesting effects. It's got your boy Kid Cudi singing
Hell
over some
yeah.
lovely strings for a bridge section in the middle. The song doesn't really do a whole lot for me in the context of this album, and I wrote that like maybe I felt like that's the point of it, just to kind of bridge the just like have a bridge to end the momentum of the prior tracks and set up for the finale of the album.
Yeah.
But I noticed after I started looking into the lyrics of it, apparently this track was supposed to be on Watch the Throne.
Oh
So
shit.
maybe that's why it kind of feels out of place here for
Yeah.
me.
Yeah, it probably is. But I mean, with Kid Cudi on it, like I'm just gonna like it, and especially given the news that just came out.
Yes,
Like
yeah.
I
As
was
of
listening.
today, which is December 7th when we're recording this, and as of the day that you guys are listening to this, which is next week, Kid Cudi's new album, Man on the Moon 3, will be out by the time you guys are hearing this. So go check that shit out. Hopefully it's fucking good. We're both excited
I'm
about it.
freaking the fuck out right now. Like I was actually like you told me earlier, and I was listening to the song right before the podcast because I always do one last listen through right before we
Yeah,
record, and I was just like I was giddy. I was like
yeah.
a young child on Christmas morning.
I still am. I'm gonna be giddy all week until
Oh
it's
my god.
out, and maybe I'm gonna overhype it, and it's gonna be disappointing. But I don't know. I got high hopes for it.
Yeah,
That's unrelated to the song, though. Well,
yeah,
not unrelated to the song. Unrelated to what we're doing here,
yeah,
I
yeah.
guess.
We can't just
Uh,
gush.
yeah, maybe we'll review that album at some point. It'll be kind of a new thing for both of us because we normally do albums that one of us is recommending. But maybe we'll
Yeah,
just fucking shoot the shit and talk about this in a week.
yeah. But yeah, so yeah, I mean, lyric wise, it kind of just parts of it seem to go along with what you were talking about. Some like a woman who is only after somebody for being rich and famous, and then turning after once she's quote unquote got her hooks in him,
Right.
and like leaving him, and then he's just like, well, what the fuck? Like,
Yeah. It's very like reflective. It kind of like paints this album in kind of like a weird breakup album setting,
Yeah,
which is again something that we've talked about a whole lot.
yeah.
So we don't really need to revisit it. But like it's I don't know the way he does it. It's kind of this weird blend of like obviously he talks about fucking a lot. Which again I guess it's part of a relationship, right?
Yeah.
But he does it in very fresh ways, or maybe not fresh lyrically, but like I don't know, just the production on the album and the flow of the album and all the tracks leading into each other that kind of build up to this kind of it's like he's peeling back layers of his mentality of his psyche as he's kind of going through this breakdown and maybe realizing that a lot of this is caused because of his feelings towards former lovers kind of a deal.
Yeah. That was a very nice, much better than I could have put it.
I thought I was rambling. Track number 9.
Oh.
We're just gonna keep on moving because we're coming up. We're gonna go a little bit over time, but it's
Yeah.
fine. Track number 9, Send It Up. It's got some like I don't know what the sound is. There's a very like weird metallic echoey synth.
Yeah, I put it sounded like some sort of like industrial siren type sound.
Yeah, it's a very strange synth sound
Yeah.
that provides kind of a melody for the song. There's a lot of like minimal and scattered production on this track that doesn't really click with me. Music wise, Daft Punk also helped produce this one,
Yeah.
which is kind of surprising. But again, there were a lot of producers on this album, so I'm not blaming Daft Punk. I will never blame Daft Punk for anything. But yeah, this one it felt a bit scattered. It's got some more Rasta samples, this time from Beanie Man, which I've not heard of ever.
Hell
But
yeah.
I like his voice and I like the way he sings.
Yeah, for sure. Like, especially in the outro.
Yeah.
What? I'm trying
Like
to.
it almost sounds like in my mind, it sounds like Kid Cudi trying to do a Rasta accent,
Yeah.
kind of a thing to me.
Yeah. But I guess the outro is just like him, Beanie Man, singing one of his own songs.
Yeah.
That the first time I actually heard that song was in. I can't remember who did it, but it was like from one of the rap R&B people around like 2012. But
Oh yeah.
yeah, it was good. I want to say it was J. Cole, but I'm pretty sure it wasn't. But
Fuck if I know.
yeah. But yeah, this song, it's to me, it kind of seems in the same vein as On Site, but I liked On Site more.
Yeah, I agree. And it like, yeah, I don't know. Lyrically, I mentioned that the music production of it is kind of strange and scattered. I feel like the lyrics kind of mirror that, and that it doesn't seem to have a coherent theme necessarily to it. Where like King Louis' verse, he talks about how he's a successful drug dealer and he gets what he wants, kind of a thing. Kanye's verse, he's talking about being in a club and getting laid. The chorus is again King Louis, but it sounds like he's getting ready to fight someone.
Yeah.
And then the outro sample is Beanie Man talking about like clinging to memories and how memories are always there for you. So it's just like it's all over the fucking place. I don't know where he was going with this lyrically, or if he had an idea, or if it was just kind of patched together. But this track definitely stands out as being like scattered and weird compared to everything else, which is on this album that is pretty weird in general. Like I don't know, it's kind of saying something that this one doesn't really add up.
Yeah, like I don't know. I mean, this song on its own in a vacuum could it could be a little bit of a bop, but
Yeah.
it's just in context of this album, yeah, it doesn't hit it for me.
Well, I guess with so many hits, you were bound to find one that wasn't gonna hit as much.
Ah, shit. You
That
did it.
segue. That segue. Track number 10, Bound to. This is the one that I thought Joey was really, really going to love as his favorite. But I was wrong. It's fine.
I have heard
And
this song before, though. So,
you've heard Kanye's version of the song, or you've heard the sample that is used in the song?
oh, both. But I've heard because the Ponderosa Twins plus one.
Yep.
I think
it was the Igor album.
Yeah.
By Tyler, the Creator, that we talked about this.
Because I had looked them up around the time that I had like heard that album. And,
right. Which,
but
I think that was the first time we mentioned that I wanted to do Yeezus because of the sample, which that was like fucking like 4 months ago or some shit.
Yeah, that was forever.
It's been a while.
That was before it was cold outside. So
yeah, we're here now though.
But this song, I just remember it because it had the music video where like it was him and Kim Kardashian sitting on like a motorcycle in the sky or something.
I've not seen the music video, so that's fascinating to
Yeah,
me.
it was just like I remember it was really like it was big when it came out, and I was just like, I guess I'll watch it because why not?
Yeah. But yeah, so the music for most of this track is sampling that Ponderosa Twins Plus One track, which is called Bound, and it also has some samples from Brenda Lee that are just kind of like scattered throughout. I found out Kanye was actually sued for using the vocals of that Ponderosa Twins song
Oh shit.
without permission, which I don't know if that means that he got permission for the music and he thought that that also meant the vocals, or if there's some weird disconnect there. Because I feel like Kanye is usually pretty good at sampling things legally.
Yeah.
Like you don't hear often of like Kanye being reprimanded for sampling something without permission. So I don't know what the story is there. But yeah, it's got this very chill like 70s pop soul song kind of thing going on under it. And then the bridge comes in with this very thick sounding and it's a completely different sound from the bound sample, and then it goes back to that sample for the choruses and verses. But that bridge section is completely different. I really love the contrast that they made there.
Yeah. It's like the only way I could describe it was like very loud singing and a
Yeah,
lot of like 808s, and
it's
it
very
was
compressed.
yeah. Yeah, there we go. That's probably a better word than just this is loud.
I
But
mean, it is.
yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. It's lyrically, this one seemed like he's trying to settle down with a woman instead of constantly being a player, like he's been reflecting on in this album. Presumably talking about Kim, especially if the music video has him and Kim sitting on the thing.
Yeah.
It's got some pretty funny lyrics throughout, kind of showcasing his humor. But there's a standout at the end of the last verse. He says, "After all these long ass verses, I'm tired. You're tired. Jesus wept." And he just that goes right into that bridge, which is kind of like a funny like because I think
Yeah.
he's talking about going to church and getting married and stuff like that and what that
Yeah.
means. So he's kind of like saying long ass verses because he does have a lot of long ass verses on this album.
Yeah.
So he's acknowledging that, but also like Bible verses. And he's just saying, "I'm tired. You're tired. Jesus wept," which is the shortest verse in the Bible,
Yeah.
kind of a thing, which is funny to me, anyway.
Yeah. No, it's funny to me. Don't think just because you said it was funny that I don't think it's
No,
funny.
it's just it stood out to me. It always stands out to me, just maybe because it's the end of the verse and he does it in such a
Yeah.
nice way. But yeah, that's the album. I thought it was interesting. I saw that Kanye said in an interview, "The album don't even got no music. I just let y'all have a little music there on Bound because that was it." And I think that's a pretty good summation of this album,
Yeah.
where there's like a lot of crazy industrial stuff, which upon first listening, I, along with a lot of people, hated it. But after some time and reflecting on it, there's actually a lot of really cool layering and a lot of cool production stuff going on. And it reminds me of how I think a lot of non metalheads view metal,
Yeah.
where when they listen to it initially, it's just noise and they hate it. But eventually they kind of like, if they give themselves time and actually try to listen to it, then it makes sense eventually.
I like that comparison because it's very true. There's a lot of music that over the period of my life I've tried to show people and they're like, that's not music. Like
Yeah,
there's so many times where I try to show people something and they will just flat out with no like hint of irony tell me that it's not music, and I'm like,
yeah.
just fucking like what? Try it. Just like listen, actually listen to it. Don't
Give it a
just
good shot.
yeah. And I'm glad I gave this a good shot
I'm
because
glad as well. And I figure, like, I don't know. I don't want to take credit for showing you this album because I feel
yeah,
like at some point you were going to anyway. I feel like maybe there's a part of me that thinks that you were specifically not listening to it prior so we could have this on the show, which is fine. But
well,
I didn't want to hold you up on it, and I know you would have listened to this at some point and you would have loved it regardless of if I introduced it to you.
I was gonna eventually listen to it just because I kind of got off track. I was gonna listen to everything that he had put out, and I kind of just
Mhm.
got off track with trying to discover like new music from people that I hadn't heard at all. But
Right.
it might have. It was probably gonna be a little while before I got back to this on my own. So I will let you take credit for at least lighting the fire under me that caused me to listen to this.
Yeah. So interestingly, in some kind of meta ways, you mentioned that you kind of got off track of not you meant to listen to this album, you meant to listen to all of Kanye's stuff, and you got off track. Lord who I'm assuming still haven't listened to her first album.
Yeah.
She did a cover of "Hold My Liquor" on this album. Like, or I guess her cover wasn't on this album,
Yeah.
but "Hold My Liquor" from this album she did a cover of, so it kind of comes full circle.
Oh
I
god.
have not heard that cover, but I saw that she did that while I was doing a little bit of research for this album. So that's a fun little tie through to everything.
At some undetermined point in the future, I'll have to listen to that as well.
I mean, it's music. You'll. I don't want to force it on you.
No,
Like,
I will listen to it eventually. At least
Yeah.
now that I know that it's worth listening to. I don't know, like with Lord, because Lord is honestly one of those people that I might not have like listened to really
Right.
had it not been for you. But
Yeah.
I'm not gonna keep rambling on about music that I may or may
Yeah.
not.
We'll wrap this up because we actually made pretty good time, all things considered. But
Yeah, how do we do
what
it?
are we doing next week, Joey?
So next week, I'm sure people have heard me reference a person named Alyssa before, and that is uh, the lovely lady that I live with.
The lovely lady that I live with.
There we go.
I like the
Boom.
way that sounds. There's a lot of
Yeah.
alliteration there.
And yeah, she recommended an album that I've heard it before, but I haven't really spent a lot of time with it. The band is Motion City Soundtrack, and the album is Commit This to Memory, so we can't forget what it's called because we got
I
to.
mean, I've already forgotten what it's called once today. So
But yeah, so like I don't know, it's good. It's
allegedly.
pop rock punk type thing. Yeah, she says it's good, and I mean I've listened to it and I remember good things about it. So
Is she wanting to show up next week and talk about the album and defend herself when I tear it to shreds?
I will at least talk to her about it.
Okay.
She might, but
So tune in next week. Maybe we'll have a guest for the first time on
yeah.
the show, and it might be Alyssa, or maybe we're just going to tear it to shreds, and she won't be there to defend herself, and you guys will hate the album because we hate it because we're influencers, Joey. That's
Yeah.
what we are.
Shit, dude, we should start demanding free things from companies.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about getting a sponsorship from Gorton's last week
Yeah.
when we talked about Larry and his flask.
Give
So
me all the
Gorton's,
fish
hey,
sticks.
pay us in fish sticks. We're here if you're listening.
For real. For real.
We'll talk all about how great your fish sticks are if you pay us money. Not
Yeah.
until then, though.
Yeah.
Until then, they're mediocre at best.
Yeah, definitely. I have absolutely no comment on them. They're in a void of my oh god. Please, Jeremy, get me out of this.
Yeah, so next week, Motion City Soundtrack, Commit This to Memory. We're going to be listening to it, talking about it next week on the episode. And then after that, maybe the new Kid Cudi album. I'm still excited about that Kid Cudi album, so
Yeah.
check that shit out. But you can find us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, message us, leave comments on YouTube, SoundCloud. We're all over the fucking place. So wherever you're listening to, there's a chance, I guess if not on Spotify, you can't really interact from Spotify. But you can find us on social media and shit. Send us some messages. Let us know what you think about Yeezus. Let us know what you think about Kanye, because that's a topic people like to argue about and like to talk about how Kanye's a piece of shit. Which, as a person, maybe I agree, maybe I don't agree, but his music is great, and I will defend that to my death.
Boom.
Until then, though, until I die defending Kanye West's music, I hope you guys stay in our feedback loop.